the Leading Edge Cricket Podcast. Bullying the Oppo since 2004.
Hey guys, welcome back to Leading Edge Cricket Podcast, episode 14, and it doesn't get any bigger than this. Cricket Australia have laid the law down in terms of what they've done to Steve Smith, David Warner and Cameron Bancroft, and today we are going to get right into it. I'm Rob, one half of the Leading Edge Cricket Podcast, as always, joined by my co-host Rich.
Hey Rob, what's going on?
A sense of justice.
Much. It's in the air.
It is. Now, Rich, we're going to get straight into it today. We're covering this one topic alone, and if people have been living under a rock, I think we should get them up to speed in terms of what the hell is just going on.
Yes, absolutely, Rob. Yeah, well, just quickly, we're going to call this the Cheetah-Roos podcast today, aren't we?
Cheetah-Roos?
Yeah. Cheetah-Roos. Right, just in case you aren't aware, let's just quickly run through what happened, the incident, what we're going to be talking about, what we have been talking about, what we will no doubt continue to be talking about. So, Saturday afternoon during South Africa's innings, Cam Bancroft was seen on television with a foreign object while rubbing the ball before hiding the object in his pocket, then in his trousers, down his jockstrap. As soon as the incident was shown on a big screen, the player, Cameron Bancroft, was questioned by the on-field umpires who, along with the third and fourth umpires, later charged Bancroft with obviously trying to alter the state of the ball. The umpires did inspect the ball at the time and chose not to replace the ball or award a 5-run penalty. They could not see any marks on the ball to suggest that its condition had been changed as a direct result of Bancroft's actions. Okay, so this is basically as it was happening. We didn't really know too much at this point, so that's why we're just running over this. So the umpires did, however, agree that Bancroft's actions were likely to alter the condition of the ball in time, so that is why they decided to charge him. The plan to alter the condition of the ball was made at lunch on day 3. This is what we started to find out afterwards. So allegedly, it was David Warner, Captain Smith, and Cam Bancroft. Now, why Bancroft was there, whether he was just the stooge, the young bloke, the gullible one, or whatever, or part of it, he was there, and he was the one that decided that he would go on and actually conduct, take this piece of tape or whatever it was, what we thought it was, and actually do what he did, which is rub on the ball. We saw at the time as well, Darren Lehman got on his little walkie-talkie and spoke down to 12th man, who then ran onto the field going, I think you've just been seen on the big screen. Put it away, and that's when he started shoving the bit of stuff down his trousers. So that was the incident. That's what we're talking about, and basically putting it into 2 words, we're talking about ball tampering. Boiling it down to 1 word, we're talking about cheating. It was massive, a massive story. It's not just the fact of what they've tried to do. It's like we said last time. It's the fact that it was premeditated, and the fact that they brought something onto the field, they planned it as a group, and then they carried it out. So it's just a horrible incident. Yeah, I mean, that's where we were, Rob. It's just embarrassing, and we're going to get stuck into it, aren't we, mate?
Yeah, it's a shocker, and I think it's both points that you just mentioned: premeditation of cheating, and it's also bringing on a foreign object onto the field to manipulate the ball. There's been memes going around of them bringing on a sandpaper sanding machine onto the pitch to do it. There's some great banter going around, but it's things that's never really. That we're aware of, that people have been caught of before, of actually doing and going that one step further, which is, it's not just bending the rules, it's completely breaking them.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the incident. Obviously, we've had a few days. We've had people flying in from Australia to deal with this. A head of integrity, a chap called Ian Roy. He's been over there. James Sutherland's been involved, the chief exec of Cricket Australia. Everybody has been involved. The charges, I'm not going to read the charges. There is a key findings screen grab that we've got that we can put on Twitter. Basically, it's legal jargon. Steve Smith was charged with breach of Article 2.3.5 of the CA Code of Conduct based on A, B, C, D, E, whatever. Basically, the 3 of them, they knew about it. They tried to do it. They premeditated doing it. They, got other people involved in doing it, as in Bancroft. And then they lied about it. They tried to cover the tracks, blah, blah. So that's the charges. They've been charged with a number of offences, all 3 of them. So we're not going to go into that press release. Basically, just so we know, the Cricket Australia board, who sat down and looked at this, also included ex-player Michael Kasparitz and also ex-player and captain Mark Taylor. So it's not just a bunch of suits that have made the decisions they've made today. It's worth noting at this point as well, all players have 7 days to appeal the sanctions, which we will go on to shortly. Okay. Cricket Australia chairman David Peaver, he said these are significant penalties for professional players and the board does not impose them lightly. It is hoped that following a period of suspension, the players will be able to return to playing the game they love and eventually rebuild their careers. So we can see how serious this is and how serious Cricket Australia have been taking it, and we need to give them credit for that. It's not Australia, it's not the country that has done this. It's 3 individuals, and those individuals that have been charged and have been banned are Steve Smith, David Warner and Cameron Bancroft. So, as we knew already, Rob, we've got a 1-match ban from the ICC for Steve Smith and 100% of match fee, and Cam Bancroft, level 2 offence, 75% of match fee, no ban. Obviously, the ICC couldn't do much because of how they view match fixing. So we wasn't going to expect much from them, I suppose, but maybe ICC need to get their house in order and actually sort this out because it's obviously not sufficient.
Yeah.
So the bans that have come in so far, right, we'll talk about Cam Bancroft first. He's got a 9-month ban. So Steve Smith and David Warner have been banned for 12 months. Sounds a lot, but we're going to go into it. We'll talk about that in a little bit, and we'll make that. I think it's actually quite reasonable, and I think there's a damn good reason why it's 12 months and not 6 months, which normally probably would have been sufficient. None of these players are going to be able to play during their bans in domestic cricket in Australia or international cricket. Smith and Warner have both been removed as captains from their respective IPL sides. Smith for Rajasthan Royals and Warner for Sunrisers Hyderabad. They've also lost their captaincy and vice-captaincy position with Australia. But they will, along with Bancroft, be allowed to play club cricket in Australia.
Okay.
And they've actually been encouraged in the future to do this, which, again, we'll just touch on a little bit. It's going to be a real strange one, how they deal with this and what happens. I really do hope that they don't appeal for a start, because it's going to be a farce. And just one other point to make as well. Future leadership. Warner will no longer, after his ban, be considered for any leadership role in the future. Smith and Bancroft will have to wait an additional 12 months following their bans before they can be considered for any future leadership. So that's a year out for Smith, and then it'll be a year after that before he can even be considered for a captaincy or vice-captaincy of any team again for Australia. So they're the bans. We kind of understand the charges. First off, Rob, what do we reckon to that?
I think it's pretty fair, actually. It's trying to find a middle ground between something that's too harsh, but it has to be something that's relevant, for one, for it to sink in, and two, get the respect of the Australian public, because we all know Australia, that captaincy role in Australia is one of the most important positions in the country. Some say the second most, behind the Prime Minister. And they need to come in hard, and they need to make an example out of these people. Otherwise, it's things that will be, oh yeah, I'll do it, I'll get a series ban, but it's probably worth it. The chance of getting caught is quite slim. So massive kudos to Cricket Australia for putting in these bans. And the one thing I actually randomly do like, and I wasn't sure if I would, is the fact that they can go and play club cricket, which is almost like you get in trouble with the police or something like that, and you go and do community service. And I think there should be something wrapped around it where they've got to spend so many hours of time over the next year playing club cricket or coaching or involved in club cricket to give something back to the game that they've tried to ruin.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason they've said they want them to, or will allow them to play club cricket in Australia is to help them to, as they say, reconnect with the cricket community. It's getting them out of their bubble, isn't it? Back to the playing fields, back to the spectators, if you like, and just making them understand what cricket's about again. It's not a win at all costs, which the Australian mentality has become. Where that mentality has come from, we'll discuss in a bit, because it's certainly not just down to Warner, Smith, and Bancroft. This goes all the way up to coaches. The public's demand for winning at all costs and going along and allowing Australia to play the way they do. If there was more of a pushback to the general sort of aggression and, personal nature of abuse and, the getting stuck into the oppo. And as we said, about Lehman saying about want to send Stuart Broad home crying, that's not okay. And we've got to a point where that atmosphere and that kind of way of playing the game has filtered through that much to the point where this has happened, because there just isn't any control. It's such a bizarre one, isn't it? I mean, there's arguments and counter arguments. People have always tried to gain a bit of an advantage and stretch that line and push that line. There's a talk about 2005 Ashes with Marcus Trescothick deciding Murray Mints was the best mint to get a bit of extra moisture on the ball and get it swinging. I mean, Jason Gillespie this week, he was talking about that, and he's like, you know what, I think it's all rubbish. I think all that stuff, sweets and all the rest of it, it's all absolute garbage. It doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
But taking a bit of sandpaper onto the field is something completely different.
It's crazy. It actually is crazy of all the things. And then lying about the fact, oh yeah, we took some tape on, bro. No, you didn't. You took sandpaper on. Just be after it going, oh yeah, it's a sunglasses case in my pocket. It's just one lie after another, and that's why I think they've had to come down hard, because it's taken a while for Cricket Australia to just take the truth out of this guy and try and work out what the hell is going on. And the fact that David Warner, I feel, has got the harshest in terms of being in trouble. He's not allowed to take a captaincy or leadership role within Cricket Australia again. Shows that he is absolutely at the forefront of what has gone on.
Absolutely, spot on, mate. And that's the thing. It's kind of, what do we know about what's gone on at the minute? We know that now it's sandpaper. They lied. It wasn't sticky tape. What the hell was Bancroft on about? Oh, I'm picking up some granules of dirt. It was sandpaper, youth. Why didn't you just say it was sandpaper from the start?
Yep.
A bit of tape and trying to get some soil on it and scratching it. What difference does it make? So why lie? So, people gave Australians a bit of credit after the game, didn't they? Oh, do you know what? At least they fessed up and admitted to it. No, they didn't. They were still bullshitting.
Yeah.
Basically, the press conference at the end of the day was a complete lie.
Yeah.
It was completely, they planned it. It wasn't tape. It was just what, guys, just stop compounding the issue. David Warner, though, like you just said, he is the one that allegedly, it seems, he is the one that instructed Bancroft to scuff the ball using sandpaper. He gave him advice on how to do it. Steve Smith was fully aware, did not do anything to stop it, didn't prevent it. And then Smith and Bancroft deliberately misled the umpires when they stepped in on the field and also in the post-play press conference. Smith was held responsible as well for basically telling Bancroft to hide the sandpaper when umpires intervened. So they're all obviously culpable. But Warner, it seems, was the instigator. Getting above his station, I guess, thinking he's untouchable. I don't know what it was, but
small man syndrome.
Exactly, yeah, it's just ridiculous. I mean, Warner, for his part as well, he's also been accused of not being truthful with the match referee by concealing his knowledge and involvement in the plan and by not voluntarily reporting it. It just appears that he's on the outside looking in now, isn't he? We've seen some images, we've seen some reports coming in from kind of the rest of the team, the squad being quite kind of concerned about Warner. He took himself out of the group chat, Rob. He took himself off WhatsApp group chat.
Oh no, he's deleted the app.
I mean, what happens that you can't get back in now, can you? Once you've deleted the group app.
He's not in the loop, bro. He's not in the loop.
No. I mean, if you don't want to say anything, just be a lurker like me. So I'm not in the group chat. Just stay there. It's fine. Oh, I mean, Warner, it's been a shambles of him. It's just spiraling out of control. I mean, he's lost his LG sponsorship deal back in Australia.
Yeah.
Steve Smith's not going to be advertising his the Milo or whatever it's called, is he? So
he's just gone up to global. He's just taken a huge pay rise with his sponsorship as well. He's gone to a global contract on whoever his biggest contract is, and now that's in danger. You take out the IPL contracts, that's 1.3 to 2 million for some of these guys. I assume Cricket Australia won't be paying them $1 million a year. So for someone like David Warner, it's probably going to cost him about 5-6 million on the year, and then it's what the hell does his career look like post 12 months? Does he get another IPL contract? Does he play for Australia again? If the answers there is no and no, the guy who's probably got 5, 6, 7 years ahead of him may have just cost himself about 25 million.
Yeah, 1.3 million each, their contracts, in pounds, that is, English pounds.
Wow.
It's just for a brain-dead decision. Yep. It's just ludicrous, isn't it? I mean, they've lost those. Bancroft it's worth noting, Bancroft is lined up to play for Somerset this summer in the English County Championship. So it'll be interesting to see whether he can get that gig, especially after the IPL have obviously said no now to Warner and Smith. All we know is Somerset are saying that they are monitoring the situation, which is a polite way of saying, right, we don't really want this guy anymore. How do we get out of it? It's really worth saying as well. Look, we're going to go on and we're going to be cynical in a minute, but head of integrity, that Ian Roychap, he's announced that no other teammates or support staff, including head coach Darren Lehman, had been aware of the plan hatched during the lunch break at Newlands. I'm still kind of calling bullshit on this.
Yeah.
I don't, allegedly, I don't know how I need to phrase this, but I can't believe that this is the first time these guys have tried this.
Nah. No,
it's too well thought through.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's got to be. Whether it's sandpaper, whether it's sticky tape, whether it's the plasters around people's fingers. There's a reason Australia got double the amount of swing over England in the Ashes. And you've got to say, Stuart Broad came out and said, look, they were reverse swinging the ball in non-reverse swinging ball conditions. All the ex-players are going, this has been going on a long time and it needs looking at. And it always comes from the top down. Darren Lehmann is ruthless. He is Mr. win-at-all-costs attitude man. And it's his ethos, it's his team, it's his way of playing the game that's being instilled into this Australian team. It doesn't just happen by chance. It happens by leadership.
Absolutely. I've seen a clip that's been played. Obviously, it's amazing how these clips look after something like this has happened. But during the South Africa tour, earlier on in the tour, Lehmann was being interviewed on the field, and they were talking about reverse swing and, talking about how they do it. And he was kind of saying it with a little bit of a curled lip, a little bit of a grin on his face, going, all teams have different methods of doing it. and they kind of questioned him and saying, is they kind of, legal? Are they, and he was like, you probably need to ask the ICC and the umpires about that.
Yeah.
So I think there's a bit of an understanding in the game that a lot of people probably try and do this without us realising it. I'm sure there are a lot that don't, so let's not tar everybody with that brush, but I think there's probably a hell of a lot out there that actually do try and push the boundaries more than we would be comfortable them doing so. The Darren Lehmann, I've just seen an interview again just now. It's just come out. He's put out a bit of a press conference. And to be fair to him, he does look contrite. He does look like he's been through the ringer.
Yeah.
He's said he's accepted that he does need to look at the culture and the way they play and reassess that a little bit. I think he's understood that things have gone too far and have got out of control. Yeah. And it's his control. It's his team. It's his vision. They are putting the players on the field are playing out his vision. So, he's got out of it, I think, because the message he sent down was, what in the hell is going on?
Yeah.
I think that's what he sent down to Hanscom, but apparently he didn't say hell. You can kind of understand it, and you can kind of, protective mode maybe kicked in, and he decided quite quickly that he needed to see if he can get his blokes out of trouble.
Yeah.
Which is actually, as ever, it's got him into even more trouble and got him questioned because it looked like he knew what was going on with when he was doing that. So
yeah.
There is going to be another investigation. I think there's going to be an overall. I forget what they've called it, but the Cricket Australia have already planned, and they're going to be doing it, looking into Cricket Australia as a whole and the Australian setup, and just how they play and just the way things are, because things follow them around, don't they? And it's fantastic, really, isn't it? With how many people have been ready to just put the boot into this Aussie team.
Yes.
And they you must agree, they've brought it on themselves. The way they've played, making up, deciding what's over the line and what's not over the line, calling people this, that, and the other, and getting personal, getting stuck into people left, right, and centre. And then when it happens to them, going, running back to mum. It's pathetic, and that's why people have been ready to kind of just jump on this and say, "Serves you right."
Yeah.
Did you see Jonathan Trott today?
No, I haven't.
He just tweeted, "Bye, David," with a waving hand emoji.
Nobody likes him. There's a reason people don't like him. There's a reason all the ex-players are jumping on and going, I absolutely 100% do not believe Darren Lehmann had no idea what was going on. And that's because they're in the know. Everybody knows. It's just people, there's only so much you can say in the press about what players know, right? They can't just put out random allegations because that's not going to work, bro. Yeah. But people know, and people know Australia have had this coming to them a long time. They're the typical schoolyard bully. We've said it before. They don't like it up and they don't like it getting back to them. You quoted what Darren Lehmann said about Stuart Broad in the last podcast, where we'll send him back to England crying. Well, look what happened with David Warner. He got a bit of slack, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's really sensitive." And now Michael Vaughan's having an argument with with Warner's missus, and it's all a bit over the top. But if you were doing that to Stuart Broad in Australia, it's a completely different outcome, and there'll be none of that. Yeah. We'd take it on the chin.
Yeah, it's absolutely fine, isn't it? And then, whinging like mad about it. And that's why other players wouldn't have wanted to come out in the press and say, David Warner said this to me.
Yes.
Because they're trying to suck it up, trying to get on with the game. And we know as Englishmen, if you start, saying things like that over there, you're going to get killed.
Yeah.
They're going to jump all over you. It's a weakness, isn't it? But, they come out and say it, and, the cops crossed the line, the fans crossed the line, the South African fans have crossed the line. behave yourself. The whole of Australian cricket needs to take a long, hard look at itself. It's just gone too far. I'm going to share an article once we've done. We'll put it on Twitter. Is it by a writer called Peter Fitzsimmons, who writes for Sydney Morning Herald? He's basically written an article saying why all of Australia must own the ball tampering scandal.
Yeah.
And it comes on to that whole point of people have allowed Australian cricket to get to the place it's got to. People stepped back and gone, pull your neck in, lads. They say this isn't the way we want to play the game. Of late, we've heard some old players, some commentators coming out and saying, this is not good. This is not going anywhere fast. This is heading for trouble, if anything. And they've been shut down a little bit, let's say, in Australia. But obviously their voices now were the ones of reason and the ones that people are listening to. And this is a really good article just pointing out the culture within cricket that's allowed to have developed. And it's not Australian society as such. So it's a really good read. We'll share that. But yeah, it's such a waste. Warner, great player. Smith, even greater player.
Yeah.
But they're just not very good fellas. Warner, obviously, on the field, something happens to him. Steve Smith, he's a bit of a gullible one, isn't he?
He's gullible. Yeah, he's gullible.
Yeah, immature, I think, are the terms, are they? Bancroft, likewise. I think Bancroft is probably got the age of about 12-year-old mental age or something, the way he seems to be keep getting into these issues. And it's just a mess. It's a mess for Australian cricket. And I don't know where they go from here. I think they're going to get absolutely seen to in the fourth test by South Africa.
Hope so.
Yeah, exactly. It's worth mentioning as well, we mentioned it at the top, 12 months rather than 6 months. I've heard a few people come out and say that's quite harsh. Other people wanted them hung, drawn and quartered. So nothing would have been sufficient to those people. But the ones saying why not 6 months, this is the reason. In June, they don't play any cricket until June. Then they come over to England for 5 ODIs in a 2020. Then they go to Zimbabwe for 1 test, 3 ODIs. Then Bangladesh tour Australia in July, 2 tests, 3 ODIs. Then October, Australia go to Pakistan and UAE, 5 ODIs in a 2020. October, November, South Africa to Australia, 5 ODIs and 3 T20s. There's nothing. There's no cricket in that calendar. No. ODIs and T20s and 3 test matches, in the next 6 months. So why give them, that wouldn't have been a sufficient punishment. And I think people would have gone, okay, 6 months is fine. But then they would have looked at the fixing and gone, they've got out of it. So what comes after that is India, 4 test series of Australia. Then Sri Lanka tour of Australia, 2 tests and 3 ODIs, and then Australia tour India in February of 2019, 5 ODIs and 2 T20s. Pakistan as well, Pakistan and UAE 3 test matches March. So they're going to miss all that cricket. So suddenly, if you scratch that first 6 months away and look at the rest of it, then that's a good amount of cricket for them to miss. So I think that's why they've chosen the 12 months. And I think that's why, in my opinion, it makes it a reasonable amount of time and a fair amount of time.
Yeah, it definitely is a fair amount of time. I think they've found that fine balance between making it too harsh and not enough where it's a little bit of a slap on the wrist. So I'm quite happy with it, and it will sit differently with different people. Like, there's been comments on YouTube and our Facebook page saying, it's not enough. And then there's people going, oh, that's a bit harsh. So I think it's probably found the nice middle point where it's going to make enough of an impact where if any other teams are doing something similar or are thinking of doing something similar, they will just go straight away from it. There's been a bit of a noise in New Zealand cricket over the last few days about ball tampering. Not around the current team, but Mark Richardson, the outspoken ex-New Zealand opener who divides opinion on him as a personality on TV. He's quite abrasive. He is sandpaper. And he was saying in Test cricket he never ball tampered. But in first-class cricket, he ran after the ball one day and there was a concrete grate. And he was, right, okay, I'll have the ball over this a little bit. And he was just saying, when people can, they will do stuff. The difference being this is completely premeditated, as we've said.
Yeah.
So where do the Aussies go next then? So we've got the 4th test coming up. What changes are we seeing to that lineup?
So we're over to Joburg for the last test. So obviously Smith, Warner and Bancroft are out. The only other batsman as cover in the squad at the minute is Peter Hanscom, the 12th man. He didn't have a particularly useful series against England or when he did play. So I'm not sure whether he'll come in, but you'd imagine he would, since he was the first batsman in. But they have called up Matt Renshaw, fresh from, I think, South Australia, winning... No, not South Australia. I forget who he plays for now. It might be South Australia. But anyway, he's just done really well in Sheffield Shield. So he's just come across Matt Renshaw. And also George Bailey, there's a name more people will be aware of, and Joe Burns as well. So out of those 4 guys, along with Hanscom, they're obviously going to be taking the 3 places that have been vacated by Smith, Warner and Bancroft.
Okay.
The other big news as well, Tim Payne. He's not just been named as a stand-in captain of Australia Test side, he's now the new permanent captain of Australia. This is how far Australian cricket has fallen. Tim Payne was an afterthought before the Ashes. He was. Why are you picking him?
Yeah.
35-year-old, never really achieved what he should have done as a cricketer. He is now their permanent Test captain.
Wow.
Australia. Sorry, go on, Rob.
I was just going to say, he's obviously got a bit of integrity around him. He's only played 12 Test matches. 12.
He's had more injuries, hasn't he, than that? So he's just one of them guys. I think, look, they're struggling a little bit for seniority. Take away the bowling attack for Australia. Take away Cummins, Hazelwood and Stark, and you're in a real mess as Australia.
Yeah.
When you have it with Smith and Warner. But then you could say that for any nation. Take Virat Kohli out and Darwin, perhaps, or Root and Stokes. Every team will be struggling if you take their best 2 players out.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a real tough time for Australia. But what it might do is, it's going to change that attitude. They're going to have to take a damn hard look at themselves. They're going to have to ask themselves why the world of cricket are basically sitting back with a beer enjoying this.
Yeah.
And it's going to be an opportunity to bring some new players through, some young blokes through, and start giving people some chance. And in 12 months' time, we might have 2 or 3 lads at the top of the order that makes it a much easier decision for Cricket Australia to move on from a David Warner if they need to, if he hasn't shown remorse and all the rest of it.
That'd be great to see.
Wouldn't it just? And if Steve Smith could come back in 12 months just batting at 4 and not worrying about captaincy, could be a different game as well. Let's hope they learn from it. We're going to be talking about this more. It's just the way it is. By the time we do our next weekly pod, which feels like an age since we last did one, there'll be more developments, so I'm sure we'll chat about it a little bit then. But
they will.
Just got to wait and see, eh?
They will. They definitely will. It's been an interesting time in the world of cricket. So much going on. So many comments on YouTube about what's going on. But there's one sentence from Sajid Khan he posted 2 days ago, and this kind of sums up how the world of cricket feels. This was one of the most anticipated series of the year, and they've completely ruined it. That first sentence of his comment just basically sums up how people feel about this South Africa-Australia series. 2 of the great Test teams, great Test nations, great histories, some great players, few fireworks, but everything has just gone over the top.
Yeah, no, completely agree. That's a great comment, pal. Really, and we appreciate all the comments as well, interacting with Twitter and YouTube, Facebook and all that. It's really good to see everybody getting involved now. He's right, though. I mean, I've been lucky enough to be able to watch a fair bit of this Test series, and it's been awesome. The cricket has been fantastic. 2 of the best bowling attacks, some proper batsmen. Some aggressive cricket, which I really like aggressive cricket, but it's knowing where to draw the line with that, isn't it? And knowing how to do it within the realms of the game, and having a drink with the players afterwards and being pals off the field. You can still do that in cricket. You don't have to be a complete dick to play aggressive cricket. And I've got to say though, the last day after the ball tampering, that day when Morne Morkel ripped apart Australia and bowled them out for just over 100. It was bloody funny to see. It was really funny watching that. It was very enjoyable. And I'm not an anti-Australian, but that was hilarious.
No, it's good to see, mate. Any closing thoughts, Rich, on what's been a hectic week?
No, I think there'll be more discussions, but I think for me, just the only one I'm waiting for really now is Bancroft and Somerset, and also. Do any other English county look at Smith or Warner? Because they've not been excluded from playing overseas, but I think it'd be a very, very bad decision for any county to be taking them on after the strict punishment that Cricket Australia has put out there. So that's what's in my mind at the minute. And then also going forward, Smith, does he ever get a chance of a captaincy again? Has he screwed it just on one brain dead decision?
Yeah, my personal opinion is I don't think you'll see Smith captain again, but you'll see Smith back in the team. You won't see David Warner, and Bancroft will end up back in the Australian team as well.
Yeah. If he's good enough, I mean, he's not that good. He's only played a handful of tests. So if a young fella comes in and takes his spot at the top of the order, maybe Matt Renshaw or somebody similar. Yeah. We've forgot Cameron Bancroft. We don't even know his name in a year's time.
Yep, true story. But I think we'll cut it there, Rich. It's an interesting time in the world of cricket, one that we've not really seen for a hell of a long time, probably since Pakistan's infamous no balls at Lords all those years ago. We've had something of the same level of controversy. But from the Leading Edge podcast, it's going to be bye. But before we go, it's a huge thank you. We've just gone past 1,000 listens on YouTube, 500 on Apple and Google, as well as just gone over 115 likes on the Facebook page. So we're seeing awesome growth, guys. So big thank you from us. Keep rate, reviewing, subscribing, sharing, liking, interacting with us. We absolutely love it, guys. We're heading in the right direction, and there's the big IPL preview podcast coming in the next week. But it'll be bye from me.
Yeah, see you soon, guys.